Hey, what's up for everybody? Radex here, the one from 72, and I just came down to this park. I was here once before, but I never really checked it out. I just kind of stopped here at the parking lot real fast, actually to go pee, which is funny. But anyhow, it's Sunday, and I was like, I wonder, because I saw there's a little stream. I wonder if there's water back there. It has to be. So as I pull down here, I'm like, wow, sure, it's packed. There's a lot of people over here, doing their thing, hanging out, and, it's just not really for me. I never felt the need to try to, fit into groups. Although, I'm not saying I wouldn't like to sit down and go watch what those guys are doing, for a moment, just to enjoy it, but it's just not my thing to constantly gather in groups like that. But anyhow, I saw this little hidden paradise back here, and I wanted to share it with you guys. Now, I walked down here just for a brief moment, and I wasn't going to film it, but it was just so cool that I was like, I need to film this. And actually, I found an easier path up. And oh, okay, so this video, before I get too much into what we're looking at here, because this actually is going to make a lot of sense, but this video is about how we can spot that most people who say they've been to Mars or other planets are liars. Okay, so we're going to be talking about that. And a lot of people say, oh, the negative and all this and that. What's negative about the truth? Oh, and there's a lot of crows that are over here. Hey, buddy. A lot of crows over here. What's negative about, speaking about the truth? You know what's negative? I'll tell you what's negative. Oh, look at this. This terrain is really... But yeah, I found an easier path up. And I took the hard way down. And I was like, oh man, there was an easier path. But it's all right. It was worth taking the hard way down. So I'm actually taking you guys with me down the more difficult path that it was to get here, to get down here. But you know what's negative? Lying. Lying and misdirection, misleading people for self-gratification. That's what's negative. Tricking people and fooling people just for a self of importance is negative. That's what's negative. Telling the truth and challenging people's lies and their misdirection is not negative. That's a positive thing, because the only thing that matters in the world, what Tintin says is numbers don't lie, is truth. That's the only thing that matters. Truth is what matters. Because it's just too much. But anyhow, I want to show you guys this here. This is really cool. So you have a man-made structure, and then you have, oh, I wonder, people have been in that tunnel, in that pipe. Look at the all right, I gotta go check that out, because people have been in there. And there's a big old frog. He just took off swimming down in there. Oh, there's spider webs. I gotta go look at this tunnel real fast. I didn't come over here yet. Lots of spiders and stuff. So I wish I had my flashlight on me so I could shine down in there to see how deep down in there it goes. But you can tell people have been in there. And I wonder how far back into that tunnel they've been, right? I wonder how far they've made it back in there. This is all perfect, because this all adds up to what I'm going to talk about today about Mars and people who say they've been to Mars and how we can spot that they're, full of shit. Very cool. And that attraction to water, and now understanding more about who I am and all the things, and kind of where my place is and everything, and all that stuff. The dog tracks. If you saw my old, a lot of my older martial arts videos, a couple of people down here fishing, that we do a lot of stuff where we go out into wilderness and shoot a lot of ninja style martial art videos. And I was going back through a lot of those, and I realized that most of those always evolved around water. Like I was always going to places where there's streams. Oh, that's the easier way out, by the way. See, that's the hard way down, and that's the right way down. Or is it? That one's a challenge. That one's not a challenge. But I started noticing, like, yeah, there's a lot of videos. But anyhow, I'm not here to talk about pretty much the water thing. It seems like I'm always like attracted to that. But also too, right? Like that just could be because I was born in Daytona Beach. I was born literally like almost on the beach. Like I lived on the beach, you know, most of my life as a child growing up and swimming in the ocean. And I enjoy being underwater more than above water. Like when I get in a pool, in the ocean, wherever, I want to get down to the bottom and I just like to sit down there, right? Like I enjoy that. That's what I like that, because I don't like loud noises. I hate fireworks. I hate you know, those big loud booms and those sounds. That stuff has always bothered me. And you know, and sometimes just a lot of people talking a lot sometimes becomes very overwhelming for me. So when I'm in the bottom of a pool or in the bottom of some water, it shuts all that stuff out and it just closes everything down, which is nice. But so that also, you know, adds into this topic of going to Mars, right? And actually being on Mars. How do we know most people are lying about being on Mars? Well, there's basic things, right? Like just simple basic concepts. If you go to another planet, and I've spoken about this before, but not really in great detail. But if you go, look, oh man, I should have put my boots on. Maybe I don't really want to go back that way. All right, we're gonna get our feet wet here. If you go to another planet, right, and you there's little things, life everywhere. Yeah, I should have. Yeah, I'm gonna need new shoes. You go to another planet, and the sun, right? Like, so there's the sun, right? Let's see if you guys can see it. There's the sun right there. Okay. Well, the sun is how far from the Earth? You guys can look it up. Not in front of a computer right now. Look it up. And I don't keep that in my Rolodex of memory. The light from the sun and how far away it is from Earth is the reason why your sight works the way it does as a human being, as being a sentient being on this planet. When you go to another planet, somebody look it up. You know how far, I'll post it on the thing, how far the sun is from, man, this is, I'm gonna have to make a jump for it. There we go. All right. Sorry. But how far the sun is from Mars? Well, beings that are born on that planet, their light spectrum and the cones of their eyes is going to work completely different than the way it'll work here. And so here's something else too, right? Like you hear about the Greys and you hear about their eyes, right? Like the big black eyes. Everybody used to think that was their eyes, but now there's been this huge like revelation that, you know, or discovery that that's not their eyes. Those big black teardrops, come to find out, are lenses that covers their eyes. In other words, you pull that off and their eyes are behind it. Those lenses help them see in the light spectrum that they're in, right? So if you go to different planets, you have to have a type of lens to adjust the light spectrum of your eyes on a different planet. See, the problem is we watch too many movies where they just show people just going to planets, different planets all over the place, and they just conduct, you like nothing changes for them. And I'm gonna explain to you how easy it is to realize that everything will change for you the moment that you step foot onto another planet. Okay, first of all, there is a study of astronauts in space, and they studied the fact that the longer you stay in space, the more your biology actually physically changes. That's just off-world. That's just in space. We're not talking about being on another planet, right? None of these guys who talk about, any of you ever noticed it's always men? Where are the women? I mean, there may be one or two out there, I haven't heard them yet, but where are all the women that, you know, what, they only just took white men, and it's always white men, right? Like, where are the black men or the black women? Where are the Chinese men or the Chinese women? You know, where are the Indians? You know, and I don't mean the absurdity of calling Native American Indians. I mean Indians from India. Where are these people? What, it just seems like they only take a certain type of group of people. Come on, man. But anyhow, look at that. You know, this whole thing with these walls like that and how massive they are, it's insane. You could never be able just to straight climb up that thing, right? You see, look at that. It's like being in a turtle bowl. Like, I'm the turtle and that's the edge of the bowl, and like, this is my world right here, right? Like, if you're a turtle in somebody's little bowl, this is their world, right? Like, they can never get up there, they'll never get out of the bowl. Here's some water for some substance. They have some little bit of turtle food in here for me. You know, here's a little bit of greenery, and here's some ground. And that's it. Imagine that would be the end of your existence right there. I know it's off topic. Anyhow, it's just absurd because it's like, it's always the same type, right? And it just doesn't make any sense. Okay, first of all, if they were going to conduct experiments like that, they would be grabbing different ethnicities, a lot of them, to see how they react on off-world. Because I was actually watching something yesterday, and I was just thinking about that too, just now, literally just popped up in my mind because I just watched something about it, where they're talking about the first people who are going to Mars. Go look at those people. Like, there was a Chinese woman and some white American guy, I think. You know, I think they're trying to choose different ethnicities to take them there. So if they're doing these experiments where they're sending people through portals to go to Mars, and I'm not saying that those portals don't exist, and I'm not saying people have never been to Mars. What I'm saying is the people that are claiming to go to Mars, I find it very suspect of what they're saying, because they're not talking about the things that are really, really important, which would be the first things to affect you, and that would be the way your body reacts to being on another planet. Like, they just talk about, oh, you know, we fought draconians, and you know, we did explorations underground, and we did this and we did that, but they don't talk about the basics, right? Like being seasick. You know, like when somebody goes on a ship for the first time or whatever, or they've been on a ship a couple times, like one of the first things they talk about, well, yeah, my first time out on a ship out in the sea was I was really seasick, you know, because of their body trying to adjust to being on the water. And that's another way to another basic thing, right? Like, there are people whose bodies don't adjust to being on the water as well. People who are born here on Earth, you know, with the water here on Earth, will go, sorry about that noise, because there's a lot of people over there playing their game, and I guess we're getting closer towards the spot. Like, they get on the water and their body doesn't adjust as well, so they get sick. Why do some people get sick and others don't? Like, some people get on the water, it's like not that big of a deal. They're like, whatever, I don't care. You know, so you're telling me that all these people, all these white guys who went to, and I'm not making a race thing, it just makes sense, right? Like, let's start adding up and subtracting the things that make sense and don't make sense, right? But all these guys just seem to not have any issues at all with going to another planet. Come on, man. The rotation of the planet is completely different than the rotation of Earth, right? Like, the spin is different. The gravity is different. That's got to do something to your internal organs, right? Like, I'm sure that once you get to another planet, especially Mars, that the first thing you're going to have to do is have to let your body settle and adjust to the new rotation. Look how beautiful that is. Too much noise over here. I'd stick it out. They're running so much noise over here, I'd stick it out. But yeah, way too much noise. Really nice over here. So, if I had another pair of shoes, I would just walk across that thing. But these are the tennis shoes that I have right now. So yeah, it's just like none of that stuff makes any sense, right? And that's another thing too, right? Like the gravity and everything would change. Like you would probably be shitting yourself. And I'm sorry if this is grotesque to you, but your bowels on the inside, your stomach, it would all change. Like, look, they done these experiments on everyone who's gone into deep space. They check all their vitals. They check, I'm sure that their bathroom habits, everything changes, right? Everything changes. And they showed that there was two twins, one that was a twin that went into space, and the other twin that was on Earth. And they looked at, they studied the one twin who went into space, and they studied the fact that his DNA slightly changed, and they were able to check it to his other twin. That the more time he spent in space, the more his DNA had some kind of slight deformities or something that was happening by spending so much time in space. They're monitoring, checking all this stuff. So there's people that are saying that they just go to Mars and, you know, and saying that even if they say they wear special suits, it doesn't matter. Explain to me how your suit, explain to me how that suit works. They don't. They literally should be saying, you know, that suit protects us from, you know, us shitting ourselves or peeing ourselves or just all these different things. They don't talk about any of that stuff. You know, they just say, you know, they just make up something that they've seen, I'm sure, on a movie or whatever, talking about some suit. It's just, there's too much. There's too much there. There's too many holes, right? And like I said, you know, your light, the eyes, your eyes having to adapt to the light. You know, there's just so much stuff. And the fact that, look, if you went to Mars and you were in a secret program, you're never coming, they're not going to just say, okay, we're done with you, see you later, right? You're too valuable. Like, your information and the stuff that you, it's an ongoing life endeavor. They're not going to, there are people I'm sure probably have gone to portals back and forth, but you'll never hear from those people. You'll never hear from those people because they're doing work that's extremely valuable, and they're not just going to say, oh, we're just going to cut you loose and let you go. And the other thing is too, they were saying about like some of these guys who lie and say that they've been to Mars, you know, say that they were, you know, in school as a child, and all of a sudden, you know, these special agents would show up and take them out of school when they're like, you know, 7, 8, 9, 10 years old, and just pick them up and take off with them. I'm sorry. Here's what I'm going to tell you. There's too many eyes in a public school, and there'd be too many questions, and people all around would be saying and talking about it. There is no way possible, unless you've never been to a public school, it's not possible for anybody to just constantly, some government person just walk up in there, take the child and walk out. This is not going to happen. Okay, there's just too much, there's too much fantasy here. You know, it's just way too much fantasy, way too many holes in the story of not dealing with reality and the way things work. And somebody right now being like, well, you know, there was such and such. Come on, get those witnesses. Get the 4th grade teacher on there. You know, I want to hear their testimony. Yeah, I seen this kid. I remember when he was a kid, and this government G-man used to come in and just take off with him, come in, get him and take him and leave. This shit don't make any sense, man. You know, I listen to those stories with an open mind because there's always those possibilities. There's always that possibility. Somebody could be telling the truth, so I listen to them. But then when you hear it and you start filling in the blanks, it's just like, okay, so there's a lot of problems here, and it's not just one, there's a lot. It becomes overwhelming to the fact that, okay, so this is a delusionary, this is not possible. Like, everybody just focuses on just the path ahead. That's it. They just look at the path ahead that the person's giving the story. Well, you know, I went from point A to point B, and that's all you think about, you know, from point A to point B. Where there's all these other paths, right? That could, you know, these other things, these other variables. So, yeah, that becomes a problem too. Also, you know, they talk about interactions with other species on other planets and stuff like that. And that's possible. It's very possible a lot of those things are true. But, you know, that's the stuff that people want to hear. That's what they tune in for. They want to hear that. They don't want to hear, yeah, we went to Mars, it was fucking boring. Like, every time we go there, there's nothing. You know, we just kept studying the rocks and just studying all, and there's just nothing really there. So, if that was the story, most people wouldn't turn it, they'd turn it on and turn it off. And there'd be nothing more to listen to from anybody who has these stories of grandeur, right? So, saying that there's all these, like, you know, crazy adventures, you know, it makes it more. So I watched this movie yesterday. It's called The Lost City of Z. Have you seen that movie? Unfreaking believable. At first I was like, this is really boring. It ended up being really, really good. And you just see how humans just, I think it was like 1909 to 1929. But you see how humans, going from their natural environment, of what they lived in, into an unnatural environment, into this jungle area on the same planet, how their bodies were interacting differently, and how things were very different for them to try to adjust to being into the jungle. That's just here on Earth. These guys don't talk about any of that, and they're talking about going to another planet. I mean, I'm sorry, it's just, a lot of that is just, it doesn't add up, doesn't make sense. Right? Like, your body has to adjust. Now, if you haven't seen the movie The Lost City of Z, you should watch it. It's actually really, really good. And, you know, and the thing is people have asked these guys, you know, were you reimbursed? Were you paid by the military or the government? Can you show pay stubs? Of course they can't, because the military just didn't pay them. They're just experiments. The military, this government just doesn't, they're not going to just willy-nilly let you go. What government are you talking about? You're not talking about the United States government. They can just willy-nilly just say, okay, you know, we've done a lot of Stargate projects with you, but we're done with you. You can go ahead and go. We're done. Like you spent some time in prison or something. We're done with you. You can just go ahead and go. This shit don't work like that. Those people would be way too valuable, right? They would have so much information, and they would continue to keep doing the work. It wouldn't stop. It would continue to keep doing the work, right? They would keep on keeping on until their bodies can't do it anymore. And that makes a lot of sense, because I know if I was running a space program, a project where we're sending people through Stargates, and if they were children, whatever, we'd be monitoring them the whole time as they're going out and out of there as children, and we would monitor them throughout their lives, going back and forth through these Stargates. They have the most experience of going there, because they've been going there since children. And if there's a point where, okay, they're a little too old to be going through the Stargate, we would have them there to continue the work with other children. We would have them there to help, you know, usher the new children, the new ones, into these programs, the mentorship. These people will be way too valuable, and we wouldn't just let them go. I'm sorry, it just ain't gonna happen. I don't know what government these guys are talking about, but that's not how the United States government works. They're not just gonna cut you loose, all these people, and cut them loose, and just say, okay, see you later, you know, good luck on your life. And they wouldn't have an audience. I'm sorry, that just doesn't even make any sense. The government is not going to let you have an audience to talk about this stuff. Do you know why? Because it's national security. You become a national security risk. It just ain't gonna happen. Look, Lou Elizondo, whether he is in earnest or not, you know, whether he's doing things because he's, you know, just trying to educate the rest of the humans. I don't want to just say America, because the message that Lou says isn't just for America. It's not like he's just whispering to Americans, hey, by the way, guys, you know, there are UAPs. You know, he's not whispering that to America, that shit's broadcast to the whole world. Everything that he's saying, the world is paying attention to and listening to. So when he says that, you know, now that his national security clearance is at risk, you know, I mean, that's exactly what I'm talking about. You know, he's telling you about stuff that which we all already knew, but they're publicly coming out and saying about it. He's too valuable, right? That's just a man who just studies the stuff. We're not talking about a man who was in the government. Oh, check this out. Look at that. So this thing over here, you can actually get up in there and just be chilling out. Let's go in there. Oh, wow. That is really freaking cool. This is a whole little hideaway. I was just walking out there, and you could just sit down here and just kind of hide away. Very cool. And nobody out there pretty much would see you, right? But you could see out there and you could see them, but they really wouldn't see you. And look, this thing is like perfect. It's and this tree is not dead, it's alive. It just grew this way. This part down here, the branch in the ground, is dead, but the rest of that's all green. This thing grew this way. It's amazing. And then you got that. Humans. Doesn't matter, because nature will keep on keeping on. Right? Like in the end, that's it. That's all buildings. Right there. That's all buildings. In the end. And this is nature. It'll keep on keeping on. Where was I? I was talking about how valuable. That's just disgusting. Bunch of dead fish. They caught all that over here. Those things are massive. Those are big. Let me get around that. A whole bunch of flies. That's another thing too, right? Like, they've been to Mars, right? They don't talk about, you know, just, you know, how they dealt with waste, how they dealt with their food, you know, just those type of things. And you know, just basic things that, let's go this way. Basic things that are like, that are not that important to you now because you're here on Earth. But if you go to another planet, they would be, you know, worth listening to, worth talking about, you know, and just doesn't make any sense. I guess there's some big ass fish in here. It's crazy. And apparently those people were eating them because those were all, they filleted them. So they weren't just like they caught them and just threw them up there. They filleted them. But why leave the carcass up there? Why not put the rest of it back into the water so that the other fish can finish cleaning the rest of the body, you know? Because humans don't care. They just discard shit. They don't even think about it, you know? Well, you want to catch more fish. You want the fish to be big. Why are you not putting that stuff back in there so the other fish can eat and grow and get bigger? Right? Wow, this is a whole thing down here. Okay, they're going this way now. What is all this red shit? Some kind of, right? And like when you come back from Mars, right? Your eyes, and especially if you're going through a portal, back and forth, right? Your eyes have to adjust both ways. Everything has to adjust. You would be talking about, yeah, and we spent so much time on Mars, when we came back, you know, you always have cramps, you know, or you always have, you know, you always are very lightheaded. It takes a little while for you to readjust to this planet again, right? Like you feel vertigo, you know, there'd be different things. And if it was because they were wearing suits, they would be explaining, well, this is the reason why we wear these suits. It's because of the vertigo, it's because of the eyes, because of all the, they don't explain that. Just say, oh, we wear special suits, you know, and that's it. You know, and then even, and a lot of these guys, they don't talk about special suits at all. They just say, that they, you know, it's funny. This has to do with 1972. The 1972 and 2020 connection, I Can't Breathe. Roger Waters, who is one of the lead guys in Pink Floyd, did a song, Time. They came out in 1972. He says, taking away the moments that make up a dull day. And he talks about in the song how, about losing your breath, one day closer to death. And then he also, that was a big old crane. He was big, and I disturbed him. Sorry about that, buddy. I didn't even see him over here. And he talks about in the song, go listen to the song Time by Pink Floyd. And he talks about every year is getting shorter. Well, every year did actually get shorter after 1972. They didn't know that. It wasn't like there were some big, you know, geologists, scientists and stuff like that, and they're like, we're going to put this in the song. Because 1972 was the longest year in history. So that year, 1972, was the longest year in history. And then he says in the song, every year is getting shorter. So every year after that song came out was actually getting shorter. And why did I say about the I Can't Breathe thing, and about the and for those of you assholes right now that triggered you by seeing them put that thing on there, it says I can't breathe, get over it. Just get past it, because in the end, you know, none of you are going to be able to breathe, because that's the way the system is. That's what's going on right now. You think that the knee on that one man's neck is it was just him alone? You're all getting the knee on your neck. Trust me. Go and watch. Let me go back to Roger Waters real quick, and then I'll get back to that. Yeah. So Roger Waters came out right after the Floyd thing happened, and he spoke up about it. And go watch the thing on that. I actually put it on a video connecting the 2020 and 1972. It was almost like preemptive programming. You know, a lot of the stuff in that whole Pink Floyd thing from 1972, there was a lot of connections with the songs that came out in 72, with everything that it was connected between 72 and 2020. It's bizarre. And I was going to do a whole thing, I just haven't had the time to. This bird's just living up in there, doing their thing. But anyhow, yeah, go and watch the, how long is this video? 33 minutes. Go and watch the, this is actually cool too. It's an old dead tree, but, you know, I just kind of walked by that, didn't really check it out. I mean, you can get up there. Oh, I'm sorry, I wasn't looking. I was up here. You can actually get up there on top of that. People made a little ramp to get up here and stuff, and you see all the graffiti everywhere. You know what's funny? The person who spray painted I Can't Breathe on there, most people are probably going to go right into their minds that, oh, it must have been a black person that did that. You have no idea who did that. You don't know what nationality the person could have been. Some Asian guy, right? But that's the perceptions. That's the problem with the human race. Too busy worrying about separating each other, you know, not understanding each other. Where was I at? Oh, go and watch the right now, YouTube it, look it up, about all the riots that are going on all over the world. All over the world, there are riots going on in France and Germany, everywhere. You know, people complain about riots when it's not their narrative. Oh, those people are bad people. But I can guarantee you, every single person listening right now, you have a reason to riot. Trust me. Eventually something could happen, and you'll be cheering for the people who are riding for your cause. This is a problem with the human race. And then you'll poo-poo the people who are riding for their cause. But you think that your cause is always going to be greater than their cause. This has been a separation and a problem for the humans for a very long time. It's the reason why governments exist. That's it. That's why they exist. Because of separation. Let that sink in. All over the world, there are people right now who are rioting and fighting against their governments because of, you know, certain cards that you have to get goods or to be able to get into certain areas. If you don't have a certain card saying that you're not with the, you know, your puppy shots. Anytime I told you guys, I've told you, and you know, it's people don't listen, and it's all connected to 1972. And if you didn't see the video where I said the message to the enforcers, go watch it, because the thing is inside of that message there's another message there. And yes, I've been accused of being too layered many times. People say you put too much into stuff, too much thought into stuff. That's just me, you know, and being layered. But if you watch that video, there's actually another message inside of the message of the video. There's another message in there, and people who pick up on it will be like, oh yeah, I got it. They'll know right away what it is. They'll know what that message is. Man, I'm supposed to be talking about Mars. You guys already seen a lot of this. But yeah, so another way to explain what it would be like to be on a different planet is to step off of the land and go into deep water and just feel the flow and how your body, next time you get into some deep water, or if you can remember what it's like when the last time you were in a deep water, where it's pool or whatever, I want you to really think about how your body reacts to how it's moving inside of that versus when you step back on land, and how different your body, how stable or unstable your body is. Believe it or not, some people actually are more stable in water, and they feel more stable in water than they do on land, right? Like on land, their bodies, they're very awkward. Like things are very awkward for them, you know. That's why people say, oh, you know, I'm very awkward. They think they don't move right. But then when they get into water, it seems like they have more control and they can move the way that they feel is more comfortable. But they don't put the thought together that, you know what, actually I'm supposed to be in there, right? Like I'm supposed to, not in this little shallow water, but obviously it's got to be deep somewhere down there because them fish are huge. But they don't think that they're actually supposed to be in the water. Other than when you watch these like people who are like deep sea divers and stuff like that, and they're attracted to being in the water as much as possible. They'd rather be in the water than being on land. Well, naturally, your hand is webbed, right? Your hands are webbed. Like for me, I have flat feet, very flat feet. And always people always tell me, oh, you know, that's a problem because you don't have an arch in your feet. It's a problem if you're a land dweller, but if you are aquatic, think about how much better you can swim with flat feet. A lot of people don't think about that. It's too busy trying to conform and fit where things don't fit, right? Like it just doesn't make any sense, you know, but people don't really, it's because you've been told, you've been fed a line of bullshit. You've been fed a brainwash of conformity. And that's the same thing, right, with going to Mars. Like, when you're on a different planet, just how it feels in the water. And then if you go on Mars, your body has to react, I'm not saying to the water on Mars, but it just has to react differently to everything. And on top of that, sound. You know, sound is another thing too. Like these guys, these guys talk about special suits. They don't say anything about sound, right? Like the sounds that you hear, which is funny because I just heard a big roar over there. The sound that you hear here on Earth is adjusted to Earth. Your body is adjusted to the sounds on Earth. If you were if you were to go to another planet, the sounds are going to be different. Everything is completely different. It's not like Star Trek where they just pop up and they just walk around. The smells. And for people who claim they've been on other planets and claim that then they say, hey, on Mars, actually, you can take your helmet off and you're fine. Some people talk about smells, but the thing is your senses, and this is something I'm going to tell you guys too, like my senses have been going crazy lately. Like in the past, like, I don't know when it started. Maybe a few months ago, I don't know. But things have been coming, like I'm hearing things really, really sharp. And I can hear people's breathing, and it annoys the shit out of me. Like I hear things a lot louder sometimes. And it's like it's being turned up and turned down, turned up and turned down. It's not like it all the time. It's like somebody's playing with dials and shit. And things like my sight, hearing, just different things, smells, and that just makes me think about, like when people are on Mars, like all these things have to be adjusted and different. This shit don't make any sense. Hey guys, look, I'm not saying that there aren't people who haven't been to Mars. That wall right there, right in the middle. So what was the purpose of that wall? What did it used to belong to? Because obviously it fell. How long ago was that wall there? How long is that? That wall looks like it's might have been there for hundreds of years. But I'm not saying that people have not been to Mars. I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying that the people who claim that they've been to Mars, I just find their claims to be very vague, very unfulfilling, very fantasy. Ooh, we went there and we met with these other alien races, and some of them we fight and some of them we don't, and it just, if you're fighting other alien races, how do they not know where your portal is? Why don't they shut that bitch down? Right? Like, are they that stupid? And if they're that stupid and they're coming from another, and they don't belong on Mars, or they're coming back and forth, then they can't be that advanced, right? And humans would already be exploiting them, because that's what humans do. So yeah, there's a lot of stories of grandeur. There's just a lot of things that are amiss, a lot of basics that they're not talking about. And I've only touched on just a few small things here, just a few small basics that most people don't think about, right? Because they don't talk about it in movies. If they talked about it in a movie, the entire freaking movie would be about that, just understanding your senses on what it's like to be on another planet. No, they go right into the other stuff, which is more, more glorious, more fun to listen to. About meeting alien species, or just all these other things. It's like even that movie with Matt Damon where he was on Mars. There was some things that were some truth to that was pretty cool, but still at the same time, like there was a lot of stuff that they completely missed out. Like tons of stuff. Like I said, all the things, you just go back and listen to the things I said, there's a lot of that stuff that they just completely missed out on. And another thing too, right? Like, if these people were going as children and they came back, they would not only just be monitoring them for the rest of their lives, and they would always be a part of a program, they would also want to know how their sexual reproductive organs are working. When they have children, they would be encouraging them to have children, so they could put them back into these same programs, right? And they would be monitoring, once you've been to the planet so many times, or going through these portals and stuff, they monitor and want to know, what your children, they'd want to check their DNA, they want to do, all this stuff is real science. But just to say that you just took a portal as a child, back and forth, from the 60s into the 70s, back and forth to Mars and back, that's just bullshit. Because there's too much. There's just way too many holes, too many things that are amiss. And on top of that, more people are coming down here. On top of that, they would be sorry, there's some people coming down here now, so I'm heading out. On top of that, not only would they be extremely valuable, they would be a very well kept secret. And for you to come out and talk about that, that's a national security risk. I'm sorry, it just ain't gonna happen. That's the reason why nothing is happening to them, and that's the reason why they're able to come out and say that stuff, because the government's just laughing. They're like, you don't think that they haven't heard, you know, somebody who's the CIA, NSA, or whatever hasn't popped up to one of their talks and listened to them. They go, oh, this guy's just full of shit. They're just making shit up. So they don't care. So they just let them go. People who have real experiences and things like that, they really narrow your, they make sure that your circle is very, very small. They make sure that your voice is not really getting out. You know, they may let you get a few viewers on YouTube or whatever, a few viewers here and there, but they control, trust me, they funnel, you know, what we already seen. We've seen it. You know, they funnel what people actually are going to see for your videos. There's probably a lot of my videos that you guys right now don't even know exist, right? Like you may see, like, there's so many videos or whatever, but there's on the one channel, my main channel, there's about to be 172 videos. So I have the 172. That video is going to be a special one, but you may see that there's only 30 or 40 videos, because they funnel it down so you don't see everything. These guys, they have these big audiences and stuff. The government doesn't care. That's why they let them say these things. They let them. This is really cool. But we're getting to the end of our journey, and over there there's a whole bunch of people. But these guys, they don't care. They let them because they know that they're full of shit. So they're not a security risk. They're not worried about other governments knowing about these programs or these projects these people are doing, because those other governments would be studying those people too, or kidnapping them, you know, or offering them all kinds of things to come to their government and, you know, sharing the knowledge on this stuff. I mean, they've been doing it over basic war stuff for a very long time. So these guys let's think a little bit more deeply into, you know, what we're believing, what type of bullshit we're hearing from these guys talking about they've been to Mars, you know, because there's just too much won't add up. And with that, for the rest of the time you guys have left.